Today on the More Than Your Age podcast, I get the honor of speaking with the Northern New Jersey based singer, songwriter, and guitarist, Erika Sherger. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Erica. I like your name.
I like your name too. I said from one Erica to another, but ladies and gentlemen, this Erica, she spells it with a K and I spell mine with a C. So some tension sometimes but between Ericas, but I don't think so.
We'll be okay.
I think we'll be okay. Well, Erica, your music is beautiful. I've been able to listen to some of your music, some of your songs since we got connected. I really like it. Your music blends indie folk, Americana, and alternative country with raw storytelling and emotionally resonant vocals. You are known for your authentic, soul-stirring performances, and you write songs that explore grief, healing, transformation, and human connection. And you started writing music as a kid, and you picked up guitar in college, but you never played music until an open mic at the age of 44, which I love, and I can't wait to dive into that aspect of you. But I want to hear about you and how you started writing music as a kid. What inspired you at such a young age to do that?
Well, I don't really remember. We always had music on at my house. It was always on all the time in the background. Music was just a focal point in my family. Both my parents loved music. They're not musicians. I'm the only musician in my family, but they just like to listen to music and they were big fans of different bands. And I don't know. I don't even remember how I started. I just always wanted to be singing music, making music, listening to music, be part of music. I just always liked it.
Hmm. So when you would write as a kid, I don't know if you remember this part either, because you would write, what was for you the difference of writing, let's say, for poetry and just a story compared to knowing, like, no, this is actually a song or this is for music?
I did go through a really cheesy phase of writing poetry in like middle school, but it was totally different than how I write music. When I write music, I start with an instrument, not words. So it always starts with music and I just kind of start making noise and let words come through eventually. I don't I never worked so hard at writing songs when I was very young, but I remember that I would make up tunes on whatever instruments I had. Like I played French horn for a little bit. We all played flutophone or whatever that is, recorder. Um, my mom got me a piano eventually because I really, really wanted to play piano. And I never took a lesson, but I kind of taught myself piano and I taught myself how to play from sheet music a little. I was never like a virtuoso, but I mostly just wanted to sit there and make stuff up. I mean, that's what I always like to do. I would sit there for hours and just mess around with like moving my hands around and then just start singing while I was doing it. It's just something I've always done. Now that's what I do with guitar. Yeah.
Yeah, so because that's kind of what you always did, and you had the piano and the flute and the recorder, did you because you didn't do the open mic until age 44, what did was there something that prevented you from singing or performing outside of the home, outside of your comfort zone, or how come you didn't do it
I
then?
performed in elementary school a little bit. I mean, I was like in enrichment music or whatever the heck that was, and they would put us on stage and a few of us and make us do solos and that kind of thing. But I would say as soon as I started really caring what people thought from like middle school through high school through college, it was like a solo activity. Like I would write music, but I would not share it. And I did that most of my adult life. It was just something that I considered personal. I think, in retrospect, I was probably just really terrified of what people would think of me or think of my lyrics in particular. And that, I always had this idea in the back of my head, like a fantasy of like one day going to an open mic. And it was kind of a bucket list thing. Like one day I'll go to one open mic, and that will be it. That's, the thing that I'm going to do. And I finally did do it, but it wasn't until I was 44. Like, I was,
Yeah, and I could definitely see how writing, performing, I mean, just like with anything that you create, that can be a very personal, I mean, it is very personal. And to expose that and share that with people, there's this fear of what are they going to think, this rejection, this, are they going to accept me? Like there's so much of what could factor into that. And so I love too that the fact at 44, this bucket list item, you decided, okay, I'm gonna just go for it. And then the rest is unfolding as we speak. And so, like I mentioned, we will get to that. But another fun fact, too, for the listeners is that you were a primatologist and you studied monkeys in South America for your master's degree. I have never met anybody who's a primatologist, and so that is just, I mean, you're probably like, that was my world. I know so many people, but what drew your interest in this specifically and studying in South America?
Well, I was also raised like with lots of pets, and I always loved the animals. I was obsessed with animals. I still am. But I don't know. I was like struggling in college, kind of just like I didn't really much care about school or the classes I was taking so much. I much rather like take a month off and follow the dead around, or like go to the local bar and see like open mic night or bands and like talk to those people. I just was not my attention, and I didn't have the desire to like do that yet. But like I think the winter of my junior year of college, I found a flyer in one of the buildings at my college for a field course over the winter. It was called a primate ecology winter field course. And I was like, ooh, I want to go to this because I like to travel. I had studied abroad. I had traveled a few times and I really got the travel bug. And so I signed up for it and I went to it. And it was just really cool. Like the scientists who ran it were really cool. And I got to know them in a way that was very different than like a normal classroom setting. And it just seemed like something that I liked and could do. So when I got home, changed my tune and made that a plan to apply to grad school in anthropology programs where people did that.
When you found this now new desire for school, did it just like, how did that change when you were studying and like your whole view on education at that time?
I always had a respect for education. I just like, I could not, I think that if I was a kid now, I would definitely be like an ADD, ADHD, hyperactive type of kid. I couldn't sit still. I couldn't pay attention. I couldn't stop talking. Like I just was like very, I could do very well in school academically, but being able to sit there and pay attention was hard for me. I uh I just was a little bored. Um
Mhm.
so I don't know. I didn't really apply myself in school. I mean when I did elementary school I was fine. It was like all at the same time that I started, I don't know. I just middle school, high school was not focused on school, college hardly went to class really. I mean, I took out loans for 4 years and I really didn't take advantage of them except for studying abroad and these programs like which were really cool. And it's fine. I don't regret any of it. It all worked out fine. But I finally, when I wanted to study something with primatology, I put a lot of effort in and I like read every textbook before I even got to graduate school. And like, you know, when I was in graduate school, there was courses I was in where like, the teacher would be like, Erica, what paper was that where the orangutans did this? And I would like know all the papers. Like I read all the journals. Like,
Wow.
yeah, I'm kind of like a obsessive compulsive and like very when I like something, I like hone in on it like really hardcore and go all the way deep. And that's what I did. But and it was really cool. I got to go to a lot of cool places. So I did that field course in Costa Rica. I went to the Amazon in Peru for 2 months and I did my master's research in Venezuela 2 summers in a row. I was down there for a month at a time. And it was just really, really beautiful, really cool. It's like hanging out in the forest all day, watching animals and writing stuff down. And the people I met were really cool. But,
Mhm.
in the end, when it came down to it, like I didn't really want to be in academia. Like I wanted to be in the forest and I wanted to be with animals. But, you know, the, the whole trying to get tenure, my professor, she worked for so long before she got tenure. It's just like a kind of a rat race, and they don't make that much money to begin with. So
Mhm.
I ended up just getting a master's in it, and then I actually became a high school teacher, which is what I still am now.
So, because you are a high school teacher now, and your experience from, like you said, you worked hard in elementary school, and your experience middle, high, and your initial undergrad, how does that affect your teaching for your students, knowing the way that how you learned and how that affected you? Does that play into your classroom?
Well, it's funny because I'm a physics teacher now, which is another long story, but I've been teaching physics for 23 years. I've also taught biology, chemistry, whatever, but they have a desperate need for physics teachers. And so I've been doing it basically the whole time. And I ended up teaching like all AP physics courses. So I have like the smartest kids in the school who are super competitive and like they're exactly not what I was in high school. And I didn't care, you know? So a lot of times I'm like kind of have to pull some of them on the side because they're so like they want to get in every program. Like they're all trying to get into Harvard and Yale and Princeton and like they go really hard on themselves. And sometimes I'm like, can you just go get an ice cream cone tonight?
Have a little
But
fun.
it's like, but you know, once in a while I'll get one of those real smart kids who's not really applying themselves, which is very much like what I was. And you know, they're kind of a pain. Like they take over the class, talk a lot, and they're funny. Like that's how I was. Like I was like would hold the class hostage and like joke around, but try and not do everything except what we were doing. And I
Yeah.
have those. You know, they annoy me when I'm trying to get stuff done, but I love them. You know what I mean? Like I mean, they're my favorites because it's like, oh, I know what they're doing. Like
Yeah.
I can totally relate to where they're at. And sometimes they like apologize to me at the end of their high school and they're like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, you don't have to apologize. Like you're gonna be fine. Like you'll find your way. It
Yeah.
works out.
Yeah. Do you ever say like, "Hey, I was like that too,"
Oh
like to
yeah.
kind of, yeah,
I tell them the kids that are like that who are getting in trouble, like sometimes I have to call home or whatever, just because they're like really distracting the rest of the class from being on task and like I'll have to do something about it. And then they get in trouble from their parents and they're like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I belong in this class. And I'll tell them, let me let you in on a little secret. Because they think I'm like a total nerd, you know? And it's so funny. You know.
do you also wanna say, like, "Do you know, like, I'm this rock star on the side too,
Oh, they all
class?"
know. They with the internet, they all know.
Yeah.
They've all heard my songs. They've all seen my website. You know, I'll talk about a lot of my students are actually musicians who are actually more accomplished, way more accomplished musicians than I am. They're really talented. A lot of them are in band, or I've had students who are like world level, world class pianists, you know, and we get along really well because we'll talk about music a lot and they'll, you know, they find it interesting that I'm still so involved in music or that I got involved in music at this age. A lot of my students call me a Renaissance woman, which is cute.
Well, and that feeds in, ties in perfectly to my next question and the topic I want to talk about. Because, okay, well, for the listeners as well, when Eric and I we got connected, and I learned about your music career later at a later age than what is quote unquote typical. And then when you sent me kind of just like a little more background story, I was like, oh my goodness, she does all these. How do you have time for all of this stuff? This is incredible. And so, speaking of Renaissance woman, you from your students saying that you also own and you ride a fully blind horse, and you've had him for 17 years. But 9 years ago, he became blind. And so, before I want to talk about that part of your horse, did you grow up riding horses? Or, well, I guess 17 years ago, but how did you get introduced to horses?
Again, I was one of those kids who had like a bunch of unicorn posters when I was in elementary school, and then it switched over to horses at some age, and then I had all horse stuff. And my family had no connection to horses at all. They thought I was crazy to even think that I might ever have one. I asked for a horse from Santa Claus every year and I never got one. You know, I started going like trail riding when I was like in sixth grade, maybe fifth grade, sixth grade, somewhere around there. And I would like go horseback riding at places where you could pay to ride for an hour with like a guide. And then I got a job at one of those places. Um, and on weekends, I would be a trail guide
Oh, cool.
for people and that was when I was a freshman in high school. And then I got mono and was sick for like 2 months and then I never worked there again. And I tried equestrian club at college, but it was like really high level, like dressage riders. And I just was not what I did. I wasn't like a competitor. I just liked to be around horses. And I wasn't really worried about what I looked like when I rode. I just liked to ride. So I tried that. And then, you know, there were years where I didn't have an interaction with the horse at all. But when I was like 34, I finally adopted a horse. It was kind of like one of those things, like music, like, well, one day I'm gonna do this. And I adopted him when he was 4, and he had never been ridden before. I got lots of help, paid people, got advice from people with horses, and worked with them a lot, and got him riding. And I learned how to kind of train a horse. It was cool. It was just fun. It was a lot of work. But yeah, I had him for a long time, and then started noticing that he was doing kind of weird things, like turning his head to look at me and jumping when he saw a change in color of like the surface he was walking on. And I got him looked at, and they were like, "We hate to tell you this, but he's like literally almost blind." Like they're very stoic when they're in an environment that they're used to. You really can't tell because they know exactly where everything is. So yeah, it kind of snuck up on me, and then it got really intense really quick. They started medicating his eyes. He started having pain in his eyes, and it ended up with him getting both eyes removed. It was like super stressful for a first time. I mean, I guess it would be stressful for any horse owner, but it was my first horse, and I felt like I didn't know what, I felt like, you know, I wasn't that knowledgeable. And but and a lot of people that had horses were like, okay, it's time to say goodbye to him now. And I was just kind of like, well, he went blind while I was riding him. Like, he's fine. Like, now he's not in pain. Like, why would I put him down? Like, he's
Yeah.
fine. So, yeah. And then it just kind of like, I had to move him to a safer farm that had like the right setup for him. And, he can't be put out with a herd because he gets picked on. He needs his own turnout with a safe fence and no obstacles to run into and whatever. And I ended up adopting a mini donkey a few years later to be his buddy because I couldn't find a horse that wouldn't pick on him. And now
Aw.
they clicked, and they're really good buddies. And that's cute. But yeah, I started riding him about a month after he had his eyes out. I just was like walking him around, and he was a little nervous. And then I just saw I actually would sing Elton John's song Leave On to him because that's his name, Leave On. And I just saw his body get calm one day while I was singing, and I just was like, this is the time. And I just hopped on his back, and it was just like riding him had always been. Like, it's always a matter of trust. So, like, I either trust him or I don't, and he either trusts me or he doesn't. And like, you can't really ride a horse if you don't trust it. And a horse doesn't let a person ride it unless they trust them. So now it's the only time he gets to run, really, or trot, So it's cool.
That's really cool. I mean, that's really, really sweet. I don't know if you can see, but I've got little tears in my eyes because I'm just thinking, I mean, that says a lot about you as a person and just your compassion for your sweet horse that you it's discovered he's going blind and his eyes they take his eyes out and they say, okay, well, you just need to put him down and you're saying no. I mean, not at all. He's not miserable. And you sing to him and then he rides. Like that is a beautiful just a beautiful picture and a beautiful thing. Did you like were I know. I feel like I know the answer to this question, but I'm just thinking like, uh, were there moments of frustrations of trying to get him to ride and just like thinking, oh, why am I even trying this? Or because of the love that you have for your horse that you just like, no, I'm going to just have this patience and work with him.
I had those moments when I got him, not when he went blind. I mean,
Mm.
in the beginning, a horse is not like a dog. And, I had lots of dogs in my life and lots of cats. And I didn't like quite, even though I had ridden and worked with horses a little bit when I was younger, I never really knew a horse very well, like an individual horse. And when I first got him, I think it took me 2 years before I really understood what his deal was and he understood what mine was. Like, it was like really a lot of work back then for me to like get like for us to like find our relationship. It's like really different than other animals. I don't really know how to describe it. But once you have it, it's like really, really cool. I mean, he's just amazing. He's always been amazing. And I wasn't really surprised when he was riding blind because he literally had been going blind without me knowing it while I was riding him the whole time. So to me, and I also, there's this horse called Endo, if you've never heard of him. He's on the internet. He's like kind of famous. He's on the cover of horse magazines. He's the same breed of horse. He had the same disease as my horse, and his rider brings him to like all sorts of competitions and exhibitions at like major horse things, and he's amazing. Like he's one of the most amazing horses ever. Like the relationship they have and what she can make him do. Like she'll just have him free around her and she just like says things to him and he'll like rear up for her or lay down for. I mean, it's like amazing. And she actually was in the same Facebook group as me when this was happening and she gave me advice. So like I found people who were going through the same thing or who had been through successfully the same thing I was going through. And I only listened to them. I didn't listen to the people. The vet was like, he's fine. Just ride him. You're good. Don't listen to anybody. It was people at barns and people I knew. There's like a lot of know-it-alls in the horse world, as there is anywhere. And they were like, it's time to say goodbye. I mean, people were very judgy about it. And I just, it was a stressful time, but, I think I went through more turmoil getting to know him and training him to be ridden when I first got him than when he went blind. Yeah.
How often do you get to ride him now?
I go to the barn every week. I'm actually going to go right when we're done.
Oh,
He he's about 40 minutes away from my house because it was kind of hard to find someone with enough land in northern New Jersey to give him his own space. Most horse boarding facilities will turn all the horses out together. And that's the kind of place he was at. And we had to leave when we found out he was going blind. I had to leave kind of quick. Yeah.
yeah. Wow. So you also had a very rough patch, a personal rough patch in your life in 2006 when you had an intense cervical cancer treatment and it drastically changed your life. And you told me that you had to reevaluate your life. So what did you reevaluate?
Well, and as part of all of that, like not caring about school and liking to go follow bands and stuff, I liked to party a lot when I was younger, like starting in high school. I was always in that crowd that was like partying, in college is partying, and I just was like kind of more into that than I was into anything else. And I I found out I had cervical cancer when I was 31. And, when she first said it, I thought it was going to be some simple thing, like you go in and whatever. But they were like, no, you should go to Sloan Kettering in the city. And if you want to be able to have kids, you're going to have to get this special surgery. Only 200 people have gotten it. And I went to Sloan Kettering like a week later, and it just was like all happening really fast. And I was not really grown up. Didn't have much coping mechanism or like emotional maturity to like handle it in like a really adult way. I just was like, what? And I did what they told me to do. I got the surgery, but they took out like 28 lymph nodes during the surgery. And on quick examination during the surgery, they looked like they were all clear. So they gave me a surgery that was fertility preserving, but then on final pathology, one of them had cancer in it, which made me have to get chemo and radiation after that. And that put me into menopause at age 31. So I was kind of like, the surgery itself was like killer intense. Like I was like down for the count for weeks, I had to miss a couple months of school. It was like pretty major. And then the chemo and radiation, and it just like totally changed everything. It was like the age when all my friends were getting married and having kids, and I was just a mess. I mean, like I just like kind of, I don't know. I just like had I'm grateful for it now. Like in retrospect, it's like one of the best things that ever happened because I was kind of lost and kind of searching and kind of partying too much, and I don't know. It just made me realize that life is short and that's a gift, when you realize that like, I'm like, oh, I'm wasting my time here. Like I've been wasting my time a lot. Like I've had so many nice opportunities that I've just like kind of been like, whatever. When I feel like it, I'll start, you know, letting the world see how good I am at things. But, it just made me be like, well, if I want a horse, I better get one. And if I want to play music, I better start playing music. And if I want to do all these things, I better do them. And I I I did a couple like about a year 2 years after that cancer treatment, I quit drinking, I quit smoking cigarettes, and I've never drank alcohol again. I don't use any mood altering substances since then. Like I just quit everything and I started doing yoga. I just got healthier and it took me a while, but like grew emotionally, grew spiritually, grew mentally, and just got a lot more grounded and a lot more connected to who I am and became a more authentic, mature person. I mean,
Yeah.
I still have work to do, but, you know, just clearing all that junk out of the way really helped a lot.
Mhm. So you said that it was 2 years after your last treatment. Was there anything in particular after the 2 years mark, or was it just more of okay, I gotta just like
No, I was just kind
get
of like
stuff?
bottomed out emotionally. Like I was like trying to run from the feeling or like whatever it was and I couldn't get away. Like it was just like it was a sad thing that happened to me. Like I couldn't have kids and my whole life was not going to be different than what I thought it was maybe going to be. And I tried to like evade it however I could and dodge it for a couple of years and I finally just looked it square in the eye and was like, okay, like I can keep running, but now I'm not going to get away. Like you can't get
Yeah.
away from that kind of reality. So,
Yeah, that's a powerful realization for that. I'm curious to know too, because of that intense season that you had to go through, and then several years later, you have your horse, and then your horse is going through his own intense season. Like, did anything, like, did that, because you went through something personal yourself, did that kind of help you love him really well or walk with him through all that in that season? I know it's very different, but I don't know. I just kind of thought because
yes, I
did you
mean,
see any parallels at that time?
I, it didn't even occur to me not to walk through it with him, honestly. I mean, it's just like
Yeah.
the kind of person I am. I mean, it's just like, I don't know. I'm good at I'm good at being brave and sticking with things that I start and not giving up unless it's
Mhm.
something that I decide doesn't serve me, but there's no way that horse doesn't serve me. I mean,
Yeah.
just like, finding the relationship with him in the beginning, which isn't even something I thought I was going to talk about, but I think that that was like that happened, I got him 3 years after my cancer treatment. So it was like just working with him and figuring that out without giving up was like a real, you know, it was just a real journey of self-discovery, and he helped me do that. Like, he helped me be brave, and he showed me a lot of things, and so, he's like my spirit animal. He's like an amazing animal, and I'm not the only one that says that. I swear to God. Everyone who meets him says that. Like, all horses love him. He's just like a really cool, special kinda guy.
Yeah, and he's on the cover of, one of your albums, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. The cover of that album and the cover of the album that I'm about to release, were this is kind of a weird story, but they're both kind of these weird, and I'm gonna sound like a crazy person right now. I don't want to call them visions. I got puncture a couple of years ago for high blood pressure, and it didn't work. I'm on medication now, but I do acupuncture ever since Sloan Kettering sent me to acupuncture for the first time, actually. I had like this couple acupuncture treatments from my friend Terry where as soon as she put the needles in and put like a little pillow over my eyes, I started seeing pictures. And both of those album covers are part of what I saw. That's,
Wow.
yeah.
Did you see any other pictures that you wanna share? Like, did you see
But,
anything else?
well, it's kind of a long story, honestly. I mean, I could tell it if you want, but it was really intense. It was like a very spiritual thing. I don't really know why it happened or whatever, but it just felt really important. and important enough for me to put both of these images that I had from these things on my album covers. The one that's me riding my horse, this is going to sound crazy. Anyway, whatever. It is what it is. So when I was laying there with needles in my body, I like was all of a sudden was looking at myself on the table and I was dead. And I was like outside of my body and I'm like, wait, did I die? And then I felt scared, like really scared. And then all of a sudden I heard hoofbeats, like galloping hoofbeats, and the picture changed. And it was this field, like what the album cover looks like. It was all clover. And it was me riding my horse at full speed, bareback, galloping, holding his mane with one hand. And I had a snowy owl on the other arm. And it was like the most powerful version of me I could ever imagine. And like tears just started running down my face, like really on like the table. Like I could feel them like running down my face. And like some other stuff happened too. But to me, that was like, I don't know, it was kind of like me realizing like the old you like is gone now. And now you're this other woman who's kind of a warrior.
Wow. Wow. Okay. When this happened, was this before you did the open mic night or had that
Yeah,
already
it was
happened?
after it. Um,
Okay.
yeah, it was after it.
Wow. That is fascinating. I have so many more questions with that,
Well,
but
the other album cover, the one that's coming out, this was the next acupuncture session. It happened again. And in this one, I was like, it was much darker. It wasn't as bright colors that I was seeing, but it was like these rustling black and brown shapes around me. And then I looked up and they were feathers. And it was like this huge bird of prey, like a condor or a vulture or something, like really big though. And it just came to me and put its wings around me and hugged me. And I felt like really safe. And then everything just went black. And I just like was kind of laying there for a while. But that's what this album cover is. And it kind of like, I don't know if you read about like the meaning of those birds of prey and like dreams or whatever. I'm not like this mystical new age person or anything, I swear to God. But it usually means like rebirth or the creator and destroyer type things. You know what I mean? It's like,
Mhm.
and a lot of this album that I just wrote is about, like the good and bad of life and like just accepting all of it as beautiful and letting yourself transform through the hard parts into something more beautiful, and yeah, it's kind of the bird represents like the universe in all its beauty and disgustingness.
Huh, very interesting. Do you have a belief in God through from this, or is that like separate? And if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to. I'm just
No, I'll
curious.
talk about it. I do. I don't really call it God. mm, I will say this. I was an atheist for many years, like a really loudmouth annoying one. When I was struggling and kind of going through the change of, after I had cancer or whatever, I was struggling with that idea. And I remembered back to something that happened when I was young. And my grandmother, my mom's mom, had lung cancer. And she was sent home from whatever hospital to be able to die peacefully at home, but she was in very bad shape. And one day we were a completely non-praying household, non-church, like just didn't do that. And which I'm fine with. My mom said once to me, she goes, "Please pray for your grandmother. She's not doing well. She doesn't even recognize your grandfather is there." And I went in my bed that night and, I guess I had like prayed like this before to Santa Claus, like literally, like, can I have a pony for Christmas? Like I would ask for things I wanted with my hands together because I saw it on TV. But that's not what I did that night. That night I was like silently, like, if there's something out there, take my energy and send it to my grandmother. And I like tried really hard and was like trying to shoot light out of my chest. And I don't know why I did that or where I didn't learn it anywhere. I just tried it. It just seemed like the right thing to do. And it was like an exertion. I was sweating from it. And then I fell asleep. And the next day, my mom said, "Oh, your grandmother mentioned you last night." And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, she was moaning and out of it. And then she sat up on the couch and looked at your grandfather and said, 'Erica just saved my life.'" And like at that age, I was like 16 when it happened.
Yeah.
And I remember I got the chills when my mom said it. And then I totally forgot about it, like just forgot about it for years and years until I was kind of struggling. And I'm just like, wow, I did that once and it worked. Like, you know, I don't know what there is or what there is, like I'm into yoga, I'm into physics, like I'm really sciencey, but I believe the universe is all made out of the same stuff and that we're just part of that universe and that like I believe there's things that happen that we don't understand. Like I believe my grandmother felt my energy that night. And if that's possible, then like, I think we're all connected a lot more than we actually feel like we are.
Mhm. There's a kind of side note, but that's related, and then we'll get back to your story too. There's a podcast that I listened to where this man he interviews a lot of people who have experienced near death experiences, and although yours wasn't a death experience, they have a lot of outer body experiences as well. And so people will see God or they'll see um, just like this life review, and it's there's a lot of similarities in all of it. If you're interested, I can send it to you when we're off of this. But it's pretty fascinating. And I believe in God, and so when I hear those stories, I'm like, yes, confirmation. So when I heard yours, I was like, whoa, that's crazy. But anyway, I just share that with you because I'm curious if you've heard any of those. But if you're interested, I can send that to you. But I want to get back to your story when so before the acupuncture you had made this decision because you had this life altering situation with the cancer treatment, and then you get your horse, and then you start yoga, and you're a teacher during all this time, and then you said, I'm going to do these things that I want to do, and I always wanted to do this open mic, and so you decide to do this open mic. How'd you find about it? Tell us.
Well, there were some years in between, I like started focusing on writing music more often. I bought a nice guitar. I mean, I had guitars before, but I bought like a nice guitar that cost a few $1,000s. And then you really want to play more because it sounds so good. And I was just like elevating what I was doing. And I started really liking some of my songs a lot. And I started sending them to my friends or my family. And my family just wouldn't answer. But like some of my friends were like, "Oh, that's really great song. I keep listening to it. I love it. It's really good." And I was like, "This is good. I like it." And then one of my friends just found an open mic that was like really low key. It was at like a tea house, and she sent me the flyer and just wrote, "We're going." And it was like a month in advance, and I went, and I was terrified the whole time. I have a video of myself performing at it, and it's so funny because it's so different than what I do now. But like, it's still my songs. Like one of those songs was on my second record, and I still play it when I play out now. I mean, and I don't know. I guess all those years of like fantasizing about performing one day in my head, it was like more about my songs and people like thinking they're awesome. And like that's not what's cool about playing music and like getting to know the musicians around wherever. It's like they're just really cool. Like and they're so talented and like all these people played and they were so good and like because I was going to play, I listened more closely to them and because they were going to play, they listened more closely to me and that's just what happens with musicians. And it just was they were so supportive and nice and cool and like they were also like so nervous and vulnerable some of them and like I was like oh my god, this is like a whole thing. And about a month later I went to another one and they were like you need to go to open mic every week, like you got to get this nervousness out of your system. So I started going to 1, 2, 3 open mics a week, like I just for like 2 years like immersed myself in that and was like it made me want to learn new songs, it made me want to write new songs, it just like it was like an explosion of music in my life. And then like during that course like during the course of all that, like this person would be like, "Hey, can I play harmonica when you play this song? I like that song of yours." And then someone's like, "Hey, want to come over and I want to learn, like, let's learn the song together and perform it." And then like I started dating someone who played bass and we started gigging and then we had a drummer and then we made a record and then me and him broke up and then I made another record and it just like became a thing. Like it just became a big thing for me. I mean, not like I'm making money from it. I make some money, but I spend way more money than I make, but
Yeah.
it's really fun. Yeah.
That's really cool. So the thing that I think like a big takeaway from just that section that I heard was, one, your friend is like, okay, hey, you sent this music to your friends, which is scary because a while ago we talked about how you said that you didn't like that's being very vulnerable of sharing your voice, your music, your creation, your thoughts, like with these people that you love and trust, that they could easily just, you know, I don't know. You don't know what they could say. And so this friend says, "Hey, we're going to open mic." And then you had this fear. And then these other people are saying, "Hey, you have this fear. Therefore, you need to keep going and going and going." And so, and then all this unfolds. It's just so cool. And then what I want to know too for you, when you were going and you were very fearful, it was very scary. eh, Outside of people encourage you and saying, "Hey, keep going, keep going, keep going." Did you have to do anything, like, to tell yourself or, like, what did you do to get yourself to keep going?
I wanted to go. I don't know why. It just became like a thing. Like I'm like I just want to do this more. Like I the people were so nice. I just wanted to hang out with them and I liked listening to all the music. Like me performing was just like secondary. Like it was just a cool place to be. I just came back like 10 minutes before we got on. Like one of my first friends from open mic, this guy, I walked into an open mic like three, I don't know, I want to say in the first month that I started playing out. And I met this, he looked like he was in the Allman Brothers, older guy, long white hair, long white beard and mustache. He played keyboard and guitar, like an old soul who's been playing music, lived in LA for a while, just been playing music for years and years. And he would hang at open mics sometimes. And I remember like I played a song I just learned that day and he like, you know, he just told me he liked my voice and he became a friend of mine and we started performing like, that Tom Petty and Stevie Nicks song together and like he died a couple weeks ago and we just a
Oh.
bunch of us musicians, his family held a celebration of life and we all just played music there and the family was like really happy that we were all there and playing music. It was really fun, and we were telling stories about them. And it's a really tight knit group. It's like people you get to be really good friends with people that you play music with. It's fun.
Yeah, I bet, and I'm sorry for the loss of your friend, and I think that that's very beautiful as well, that just you all got together for his celebration of life or just this time to remember him. You're playing music. You're doing probably what he would have wanted you to do.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's really special, and I didn't realize that was just right before this. So, it's probably a lot going on with
No,
you with that.
it's good.
Yeah. Well, Erica, I want to share a little bit more about your music and the album that you have coming out and where people can find your music and just this is your moment to just plug away.
Oh, good. Um, yeah, so this is my third record. And this one I made right around the corner from my house with someone named Damian Calcane. He has a wonderful studio called the Pine Box because it's all lined with pine wood and it smells like wood. It's so beautiful there. And he got a great band together. It's some people that I knew before and had actually played with a little bit, but some were people I met through Damien. Really talented people. Some of them are like with national touring bands. Anyway, it's a really talented group of musicians who played on my songs. And Damien did a really good job mixing, and we got it mastered in Brooklyn by this guy Fred Kevorkian, who's mastered like really famous albums. The whole thing was just a really great experience, and I really like the way it sounds. So these are all songs I wrote from like the moment I stopped writing the stuff for the album before it. It's all stuff from like 2023 and 2024. And we just went in the studio, like some of them, like 2 weeks after I wrote them, and just put them down, recorded the moment. And, I've realized what the word record means over the course of making some records. It's like, because you can get really crazy and want to redo and redo and redo. And it's like a record of that moment. It's a record of a point in time. So I don't know. I love records, but this one is my favorite so far. It's definitely the most professional sounding. But yeah, I've released two singles already. The first one was called Like a Wave, and I just released another song called Foggy Waters. The third song we're going to release as a single is called Parkway Queen, and that's probably my favorite song on the album. It is kind of about Hurricane Sandy, which is a hurricane that hit New Jersey particularly hard several years ago, but
Yeah.
more, I mean, that's what Parkway Queen means in the song. It like refers to Hurricane Sandy, but it's more about like the badassness of New Jersey people and just like overcoming personal struggle, which I mean, after you just talk to me, you can kind of see it's like kind of a theme in my life. It's just,
Yeah.
but and growing from it. I mean, and seeing that there's still beauty, you know, during it and after it. So I really like that song. And there's this really great songwriter, Renee Maskin, who lives in Asbury Park, and she had some videos out for her songs that I really liked. And uh they were done by her boyfriend, John Decker, who is a photographer and cinematographer. And I reached out to her and asked if he does videos for other people, and she said yes. So he's making a video right now for Parkway Queen. So this is the first time I'll be releasing a music video, which came with a lot of fear because I am 52, 51. I'm not 52. I'm 51, 51 years old, and I'm like nobody wants to. But I'm only in it a little bit, I think. I didn't really see it yet.
And yes, they
But
do want to look at you.
yeah. Well, whatever. I mean, it's just kind of like I think I used to take myself way too seriously. You know what I mean? And I don't like take myself all that seriously anymore. Like nobody really cares that much what I'm doing. Nobody, you know, if someone doesn't like my music or my video, that's cool. Like whatever. It
Right. It's
doesn't
not for
mean it,
them.
it doesn't mean that I'm not a good person. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that sounds funny, but it's like, I think for years and sometimes for our whole lives, people are held hostage by those ideas of like what people are going to think of us. And it really keeps us from doing the things that we actually want to do. Like we're so scared of looking like a fool that we don't do anything, and it was easier for me to do these things like get a horse, do yoga, become a yoga teacher, do music because I'm not married and I don't have kids. You know what I mean? Like I that takes up a lot of time raising kids. So, it's not I had to fill my time and I just filled it with stuff that brings me joy and the things that I wanted to do. And I'm glad I got through the fear of a lot of it, and was able to do it.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge transformation. Just realizing, like you just said, just getting through that fear and going after these things. And that's kind of like this whole point of why I'm so passionate about this with this podcast and this whole more than your age
Hmm.
topic is because it's so easy to let that fear, that worry of what other people are going to think, to dictate us and control us and prevent us from doing these things that we want to do. And like something you even said too, you're like, I'm not making a ton of money, but doing this, I'm making some, but I'm spending more putting out the music, but I love it and this is fun. And like that's the thing. It's like, hey, maybe you'll blow up and everyone will know your name. And then maybe it's like, okay, this awesome group of people who love your music are going to listen to it and you're loving it and you're enjoying it. And it's like, either way, it's okay. And so, Erica, I want to ask you my last question, and I can't wait to hear your answer because some of the things you've already shared, I'm like, yes, yes, it'll go to this answer too. But this is the question I ask everyone. And so, if you could encourage one woman who does feel blocked or limited to pursue a dream or goal based on her age or a life circumstance, and I feel like in your situation, you fit in for both of that,
Hmm.
what would you say to her?
I think it would be kind of what I linked to what I was just saying. It would be like, just think about if you could get rid of that. Like, I don't know. It's hard because some people are so blocked from what they're scared of in the first place or what they're scared of people thinking about. It's like they don't even think in that manner. It's just holding them captive unconsciously. But it's like if you could get rid of that fear of what people thought, or like just know that you were going to be loved and accepted no matter what you did, what would you do? Like, if you could do
Good.
anything, if you only had 1 week to live, like what would you want to do? Or you knew you had 1 year to live, what would you do? Like do that. you know, I don't know. I kind of felt like when I started doing those things, like I didn't know if cancer was going to come back. I didn't know. I was like, I don't know how long this is going to last, but I better keep doing stuff that I like. And it's like, you know, other people say to me now, like they're just like, what is your big goal for this record? Like, why are you making records? And I'm like, the goal was to make it. Now I want to make the next one. Like,
Yeah.
there is no goal after I make it. It's already done. you know,
Yeah, and now your story and your music, but your story too is inspiring more and more women, like for them to be able to hear this and say, "Hey, I can do this too." And I just love it. I think it's so cool. I love that you're doing this. I love that you're 51, not 52 yet, but even if you were 52, we'd still be happy for it.
I know
Um,
that's sad that I already was saying I'm 52. Not yet.
But Erica, thank you so much. People can find you, Erica Sherger. Is it Erica Sherger Music or just
Yeah.
Erica Sherger?
Erica Sherger Music on all socials, or ericashergermusic.com is my website. Thanks.
Perfect. That'll be linked in the show notes. We'll have that there. So, Erica, thank you so much for taking your time, sharing your story, and being vulnerable and open, and just sharing your life to encourage another woman on the More Than Your Age podcast. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.